the results of the Uganda Certificate of Education National Examinations 2020. Thank you, Mama. As Uneb, that the examination centers assisted by field officers adhered to the Ministry of Health standard operating procedures as guided by the Ministry of Education and Sports. The board worked with the management team in 20 secondary schools that served as marking venues to ensure that all the SOPs were observed by over 10,000 examiners and other personnel deployed for the exercise. Honorable Minister, by the grace of God, the marking and the final processing of the results were not interrupted by the pandemic. Honorable Minister, candidates in previous examinations have been increasing, candidature has been increasing between 2 to 3% annually. However, in these examinations, Mama, the candidature dropped by 1.3%, which is over 4,000 candidates. The study which the board commissioned to investigate the variation in registration found that the reduction could have been attributed to the following facts. 1, some private schools failed to reopen in October 2020, and some of the learners were not able to find other schools. 2, some students did not report back to school because they had taken on manual jobs. Some teachers in private schools especially also abandoned teaching for other income-generating activities. In some non-USE schools, parents failed to get the money for registration fee and other school charges. A few head teachers reported cases of girls having been married off. And finally, some parents reportedly did not bring back their children due to the fear of COVID-19 infection in the schools.
The examination papers, therefore, are carefully constructed and go through the necessary stages to ensure validity, such that they test the candidate's knowledge, understanding, and ability to apply knowledge which they have acquired to solve problems in given new situations, and also to show analytical skills. Mama, in the sciences, the papers are designed to test the ability of the candidates to manipulate science apparatus while carrying out various types of experiments, to apply the science process skills of making measurements, making observations, recording those observations and other data that they will get from the measurements, and then drawing inferences or conclusions from the observations that they have made. They should also be able to present data and interpret the data that they have presented. They should also be able to apply the basic scientific knowledge to problems, the common problems in their environment. However, Mama, the following challenges are persistent, and we have reported these before, and they are responsible for the poor performance of our candidates, whom you see in the lower grades. In composition writing, which is a critical skill, where candidates are expected to exhibit creativity and originality, the teachers in some of our schools are still making learners to cram passages from what they call model compositions, which compositions have very unusual and difficult vocabulary that the candidates who are cramming do not understand. Then the candidates reproduce these crammed passages in their examination, irrespective of what the composition topic is. Mama, you'll find a candidate who has selected question number 1, probably asking them to write a story on a visit they made somewhere, and another one probably are being asked to write on an event that they will not forget. The questions are different, but you'll find exactly the same type of passage has been crammed and reproduced. In same English, candidates also find difficulty in extracting appropriate information from composition passages to correctly answer the questions that are based on this passage. We have also seen weaknesses in using the correct grammar in sentence construction. We have also seen weaknesses in the essential skill of extracting main ideas from a passage and writing out a coherent summary. This is a very important skill for anybody who expects to move ahead with their studies or anything else like that. The challenge of language deficiency, Mama, is also reflected in the other subjects, where the chief examiners have continued to report the failure by our candidates to interpret the demands of the tasks that have been set for them. Also, failure to follow the instructions which are given in order to answer particular questions. Also, misunderstanding some of those very key words that define the direction that the candidate's answer is supposed to take. These key words are normally found in the stem of the question: describe, explain, and so on and so forth. And then generally, answers tend to show very poor mastery of the language.
Now, to us as a nation, this kind of performance by our children should be testimony that God is still working good things in our midst, in spite of the circumstances in which we are. God is still in charge. God has not held back on his blessings upon us because of the COVID-19 pandemic. These new secondary schools, fondly referred to as seed schools, are non-boarding schools with a capacity for 400 students for both boys and girls. The facilities at these new government schools include 6 classrooms, fully equipped science laboratories, a library, an ICT laboratory, a 400-seater multipurpose hall, and 4 staff houses, among others. As the NRM government, we truly envision a future where no learner shall ever have to forego their O-level studies for the reason of not having an affordable and accessible quality public secondary school. My fellow parents and guardians, these young people belong to you, first and foremost, before they become a responsibility of the state to offer them affordable basic services such as education. They are yours first. And this is no place for government to advise parents, because parents know this. This is God-given. When a parent or a family brings children into the world, they must accept that responsibility. I did note, too, some issues that have become perennial in the performance of our young people at O-level. First, we are not seeing improvement, as you heard Mr. Odongo say, in the science subjects commensurate to the investments government has made in this area. I want to task our ministry's permanent secretary to ensure, to give support and attention to providing credible answers to these perennial problems, working with all our technical people concerned. We have recruited more science teachers, as you heard before me. We have enhanced their salaries to at least Uganda shillings 1.2 million per month for undergraduates. Public secondary schools have the best equipped and resourced science laboratories. Additionally, we have a program called SESAMAT to build capacity of secondary school teachers in the area of pedagogy for teaching sciences. So, where and why is there a problem in sciences that does not go away? Similarly, government has increased the budget allocation for the Directorate of Education Standards. As you heard, I believe, before me. The Directorate of Education Standards now has from 98.2% which is Uganda shillings 4.077 billion, from Uganda shillings 4.15 billion, it has now gone to Uganda shillings 8.277 billion. It has doubled, as a matter of fact, and more. There are still complaints that laboratory equipment and resources are lying idle in schools, some still unpacked in those schools, in some government schools. In some areas, we hear our science teachers who roam around the village teaching, or sub-counties, teaching schools, private schools, to gain more money without concentrating on the work that was given to them in these government schools. So is it any wonder that you hear that our children are not doing well in government schools? It is that unfair experience that we keep hearing about. Our teachers who earn more than private schools, but they go around teaching in private schools in addition to what they earn to benefit more, and they leave our children unattended to. Now, these are problems we have to hold hands together in government, in our sector, the Ministry of Education, in local governments, to ensure that inspection is done, and teachers that are found not to be on duty when they're supposed to be on duty must lose those jobs. So that we send some examples to people that they are paid to provide a service to our people, not to just selfishly gain more and more money, leaving our children unattended to. It is gratifying to note that over the last 5 years, there has been a consistent downward trend in the proportion of S4 candidates who register for UCE but fail to sit the exams. At least this one is reducing. This is considering another positive trend where we have observed an increase in candidature by more than 30,000 students over the same period of time. A proportion of absenteeism has declined also, as you heard from Mr. Odong, from 2.1% in 2016 to now 0.8%. Therefore, what I want to ask you all, my listeners, is to trust your government and know that we are trying to do everything humanly possible to protect our people from this enemy of COVID-19. Where we fail, it is not because we have not tried or because we do not care. So please listen to what the President will say to the country tonight, because it will inform what we will do going forward. Once again, I appreciate the parents, the guardians, and teachers, among others, who made it possible despite the difficulties brought by the COVID-19 pandemic. For those who were not as successful as you expected from your UCE, I encourage you not to lose hope. As long as you are healthy, God will make a way for you through which your life goals can be pursued. Do not give up.